Happy Friday, everybody. Getting ready for a big weekend. And when I mean big, I mean we're talking massively big. Plenty of stuff to get to. Let's start with one of the most interesting ones. And I know we've talked about Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift's impact on the NFL. Well, it just seems like, the NFL has become very happy that Taylor Swift attends Kansas City Chiefs games. Um, with Travis Kelsey, of course, playing for the Chiefs. How happy are they? Well, it's it's really wild. Now, friend of the podcast and longtime buddy Andrew Marchand of the New York Post had a great insight into what was going on. As a matter of fact, Andrew's reporting that the NFL basically asked for NBC, ESPN, Fox, and CBS to show promos of Taylor Swift's upcoming movie for free. So ESPN and NBC acquiesced to the request. They showed promos for let's try that again. Taylor Swift's movie during the content portion of their pregame shows. Now past Sunday and Monday. Now ESPN played the promo of her commercials during Sunday Night Countdown and Monday Night Countdown. However, NBC's free promo was in the pregame show for Football Night in America, and of course, you know that Swift attended that one. There was a Swift commercial during the game, but Marchand reports that that particular ad was paid for. So Taylor's group bought an ad, but it was that one was paid for. The NFL comped out at least three, potentially more sponsors, free sponsorships for her movie, which actually opens a week from today. So it's good to be Taylor Swift. There's no question about that. All right, let's get to the action at hand. Right, what's going to be coming up this weekend? Well, let's start with Major League Baseball, and the reason we're going to start there is because there you go. Right. Rangers and the Orioles, 1 o'clock game. That's going to be on FS1. 4:45 is the Twins and the Astros. That's also an FS1 game. 6:07 p.m. That's the Phillies and the Braves. That game is on TBS and True TV. And also on TBS and True TV, the Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and that's the 9:20 first pitch. Now, what you need to know about this is that two things are actually. Today, Bleacher Report has become Bleacher Report Max. Okay, so if you are a subscriber to what used to be called HBO Max, which is now Max, which includes all the Discovery channels and all of the outstanding programming that is on HBO and now Warner Discovery Communications, it's all there, right? Well, today they added the, as I said, Bleacher Report channel. So now, if you're a streamer and you have, Max, and many I know of you do, then you're going to be able to watch the Phillies, Braves, and the Dodgers, D-backs, as well as coming attractions, the NBA, the NHL, and of course, soccer from the men's and women's national teams. So that's all coming. It's coming tomorrow to Max, and it'll be seen as Bleacher Report on Max. Now, Max has had some really good success over the past 2 weeks by launching CNN on Max, and it's mainly CNN International. Although there are some programs that you may be used to if you are a CNN fan, but if you're just straight up into news, then that's where you want to go. CNN Max has been a really breath of fresh air because it truly has become an international broadcast of just news and not necessarily a great deal of hyperbole one way or the other. So good on them. All right. So now if you are an Orioles fan, Rangers fans, Twins fans, Astros fans, and you want to stream the FS1 game, we know that, as we've said many times, Fox does not stream. So what you can do is if you have a Fox app, the Fox Sports app, and you have a TV or satellite subscription, you can log in and literally carry the game anywhere you want to take it. You want to put it on your phone, your tablet, etc. You can do that as long as you have, as I said before, a subscription to a cable service that carries FS1 or to a satellite service that carries. Now, if you are a cord cutter, and that's what this show's for, is cord cutters. What you need to do if you don't have a streaming service like Sling or Fubo TV or um, YouTube TV or of course Hulu with live sports, you can subscribe to those services. Try a 7-day free trial so you get to see some of the games for sure. And remember that some of these games will end up on Fox, the over-the-air TV network, but that's not going to happen at least until next week. So if you want to watch these games over the next 3 or 4 days, then you're going to have to go out and subscribe to one of those services. Give it a try. Kick the tires on it. See what you like. We have Sling, and it works very well. It also has, by the way, the Pac-12 network. So if you're missing Pac-12 stuff, it's there. It's got the SEC network, the ACC network, and BN Sports, a number of places that you're going to see soccer, football, basketball, and all the good stuff you want to watch. Okay, so that's coming on Sling, on same thing on Fubo. They're all set for that kind of thing. So if you don't have it and you can't stream these games, then that's where to find it. Okay, even if you just give it a 7-day free trial. All right, so there's that. So that's coming on Saturday. Those are the games. Now, there's only 2 on Sunday. They're both the American League. That's the 4:07 game, first pitch, Rangers, again, at Camden Yards. That, again, is an FS1 game. And then at 8:03, first pitch, Twins at the Astros. And that game, again, FS1. All right, so we get it straight. You can stream now the National League on Max. It's going to be there under Bleacher Report on Max. And as far as FS1, you have to have a streaming component, a streaming service like, as we said, Sling, etc. Or download the Fox Sports app and use your authentication from your cable company or your satellite service. Okay, so that is that. Okay, all right, cool. Now we got some football tonight. College football. Let's take a look at what we got going on. All right. Cornell is at Harvard, 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Eric Fetty and Jack Ford have the call. Kansas State, in a Big 12 matchup, faces Oklahoma State. That should be a good football game. 7:30 ESPN. Amin Amish and Andre Ware on the call. Nebraska and Illinois, Big 10 game. FS1. That's an 8 o'clock kick. And that's Jeff Levering and Mark Helfrich on the call there. So you got some interesting Friday night games. If you have not watched football from the Ivies, the Harvard and Cornell might be something you might want to check out, at least for a few minutes, and maybe just 30 minutes before the Oklahoma State Kansas State game starts, or an hour before the Nebraska Illinois game starts. So give it a shot. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about the quality of football that is played in the Ivy League. Okay, so give that a shot. All right, let's go and move now. We're just going to hit the highlights of the noon show and the noon offerings. The Red River rivalry. That's right, Oklahoma and Texas. Game being played in Dallas. ABC with the call. Chris Fowler, Kurt Herbstreit. Now, Maryland at Ohio State. That's a noon start. Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt. This one might be the upset of the day. I know you're going, what? I mean, Maryland against Ohio State. Maryland's 5-0. They have been flying under the radar. They've been playing incredibly good football. And they, after an emotional win last week for Ohio State, you got to think that if there is a time when Ohio State can get knocked off, this just might be that time. Okay, so I know that it may look like a mismatch. As a matter of fact, Maryland, I believe, is like a 20-point underdog in this game. They're not, there's not that much difference. I've seen Maryland play. I've seen Ohio State play. They're not that much different in Ohio State and Maryland. Maryland actually has a much better offense. So it'll be an interesting game. So that's a noon one. That's on Fox. That's Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt. Definitely tune it in for a little while, see what you think, because it should be a very, very interesting game. Then we've got number 23, LSU at number 21. Missouri, that's, of course, an SEC game. It's noon. It's on ESPN. Bob Wishoss is doing the game along with one of our favorites, Robert Griffin III, RG3, doing a fantastic job as a color commentator. Very articulate young man and very insightful. So I know that he's on the rise in the folks at ESPN. We happy for him and wish him all the best. So those are three games around noon that I feel are worthy of consideration. Okay, so those are games that obviously the Red River rivalry is a massive game. As I said before, Maryland might be a Maryland trap game for Ohio State. Could be fun. And then the LSU Missouri game is really kind of a test for both teams, and could be, frankly, for Brian Kelly, the way that LSU's played this year, could be an early test of just how much the LSU fan base is going to support him. So we'll have to check that out. Those are the noon games, and let's move now to the afternoon. Now these are 3 and 3:30 games. Number 13, Washington State is at UCLA. That's on the Pac-12 network. Teddy Robinson, Yogi Roth handling the call on that game. It should be an interesting one because Washington State is a very good football team, but they're playing a UCLA team with Chip Kelly's. Chip Kelly's got an offense there that I'm not quite sure he knows what they can or cannot do. They went, of course, and played last week and had a tough time in a game where its defense was, at a premium against Utah. But at the end of the day, this one should be entertaining if you can get to the Pac-12 network, which, again, as I said before, is a network that we can get a sling in some of the streaming services. That would be one of the games you want to see if it's not on cable in your area. Okay. Number 5, Florida State, 3:30 against Virginia Tech. They're hosting them at Doak Campbell Stadium. Now, Virginia Tech has not had a very good football team in the past couple of years. Florida State's on the rise again. All right. Now, back in the day when Bobby Bowden was the head football coach at Florida State and Frank Beamer was the head football coach at Virginia Tech, no matter how good Florida State was, and in that era of the Bobby Bowden era, they were very good. In fairness to them, they were outstanding. Obviously, they didn't finish. I think for almost 10 years, they didn't finish outside the top 10. So that was Florida State teams that won national championships and contended for them. Meanwhile, whenever they played against Frank Beamer and Virginia Tech, it was always a rock fight. I mean, it was, Virginia Tech upset them a couple of times, but Florida State and Virginia Tech has had some interesting and some historic games among them, over the years. So I would say definitely keep an eye on this Virginia Tech Florida State game. Florida State should win, but they've had some troubles down the road these past few weeks. They played well. I mean, they're still undefeated, but I think the Virginia Tech game might be just a fun one just to see how it works out. That game is obviously on ABC with Mark Jones, Louis Riddick, and Quint Kesnick on the sidelines. Quint, a Baltimore boy who made his name playing lacrosse. So there you go. Quint always does a great job on the sidelines. Number 11, Alabama against Texas A&M. That's a 3:30 game. That's Brad Nessler, making the call for CBS there, and Gary Danielson handling the color on the game for CBS. Bama has to get back on track. Beating Texas A&M, at home there in College Station is no easy task, but we shall see what we shall see. Really, Alabama can't really afford to lose any more games and stay, um, and not have some sort of grief be hoisted upon them. But yeah, this Alabama team needs this win, and so does Texas A&M. So it's one of those very important games for both teams early in the season. Okay, so and that's going to be, as I said before, on CBS. Okay, so that's that. Now let's scroll over and move down to our primetime games. Oh, wait a minute, just one quick second. I didn't want to forget this one. It's number 20 Kentucky at number 1 Georgia. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff on ESPN with Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy. This one, Kentucky has played well. Okay, Georgia's had their problems. Okay, in solidifying a quarterback. This again, much like the Maryland game against Ohio State, the Kentucky game against Georgia. I'm not saying I would go to the window and bet on this one and bet on Kentucky. But what I am saying is that this could very well be the same sort of trap game for Georgia as the Maryland game is for Ohio State. Okay, so that's where I'm putting it. Okay, I'm putting it that Kentucky's a good football team, Maryland's a good football team, Georgia's number 1, Ohio State's number 2 or 3, depending upon who's polled. You're looking at they're ripe for the picking. If everything goes right for Kentucky, if everything goes right for Maryland, this could be a very upsetting weekend. But we'll see. Anyway, definitely take a look at. All right, so let's move on to number 10 Notre Dame at number 25 Louisville, 7:30 on ABC. Joe Testore, Jordan Rogers on the call for that one. Notre Dame's coming off an emotional win. Louisville is undefeated, and it's going to be an interesting situation because Louisville. It's tough to play, honestly, at Papa John Stadium in Louisville. It's very, very tough. So we're looking for a very entertaining game. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is only about the second or third time that Notre Dame, even though they play ACC scheduled games, obviously, in rotation, I think this is about only the second or third time that Notre Dame has been to Louisville. So, and that place will be rocking. There's no question about it, and it'll be hard to hear for Notre Dame, but that's why they call it home field advantage. So, Louisville, Notre Dame, 7:30 ABC should be a good game. Number 2 Michigan hosts Minnesota. I'm sorry, is at Minnesota. Pardon me. 7:30 NBC. Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge on the call, and that game. I wish I could say that Minnesota has a solid chance. They do, absolutely, they do. But Michigan has played incredibly well this season thus far. The bright lights is a good thing for Michigan. They know that if they're going to keep that number 2 ranking, or if Georgia accidentally stumbles, as we said they could do, Michigan needs style points, and the style points means running the score up on Minnesota if they can do it. And so it will be interesting to see how that game plays out. Okay, that's your 7:30 game on NBC. Noah and Todd on the call. Let's move. All right, 8 p.m. Fresno State at Wyoming. Tim Brando and Spencer Tillman. Now, I just didn't put this on here because Tim Brando is a friend, so Spencer Tillman. The reason is Wyoming. They played some really tough competition, and they've done very well. So, I know Fresno State's 24, but going into Laramie to play Wyoming is not going to be easy. And I believe Spencer and Tim have a really entertaining football game on their hands tonight. So, Fresno State ranked 24th in the country. Wyoming game at Laramie, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So check it out. It's on Fox, and Spencer and Tim will be there. Now, Texas Tech at Baylor, 8 o'clock. ESPN2, Brian Custer and Rod Gilmore. Why am I putting this one on there? Why I think that both these teams need this win to to continue some sort of trajectory in the Big 12. Okay. Now, both of them have quarterback issues because of injuries, and it should be a very entertaining football game. So, um, I'm saying throw it in the mix. Texas Tech and Baylor should be an entertaining game. It's played at Waco at 8 p.m. ESPN. Brian Custer, Rod Gilmore. Okay, on the call. Check it out. All right. Here's our 10 p.m. or 10:30 games, depending upon the network you're watching. Oregon State, who was number 15 in the country, plays at Cal. That game will be on the farm at 10. Strawberry Canyon, excuse me. That's where they're going to be. They'll be playing California there at 10 p.m. That's on the Pac-12 network, and JB Long and Max Brown will be doing the call on that one. So again, Oregon State playing really well. California not so much. Should be an easy victory for Oregon State, but it gives you an opportunity to see how good Oregon State is, and I think that's very important. Arizona, meanwhile, visits USC, the number 9 team in the country, 10:30 p.m. Dave Fleming and Brock Osweiler on the call. Now, this one I picked because, again, we're going to see USC at home, and we're going to see Caleb Williams, and we're going to see an offense that USC puts up that can pile up the points like a pinball machine. Now, Arizona hasn't shown much, and don't think they're going to show much on Saturday night. But if you have yet to see Caleb Williams, play along with his SC buddies, it might be a good opportunity to take a look at that and check it out. Because as far as late games go, that the entertaining part might be just watching back and forth between Oregon State and Cal and USC and Arizona, just to watch how those two teams can put points on the board, because Lord knows they can put points on the board. Okay, so that's your college slate for Saturday. Let's pop over and take a look at the NFL. All right, Sunday NFL games. These are CBS games. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. That's a tough one because it's a an AFC North battle. They play each other tough all the time. And Ian Eagle and Charles Davis will be on that call. The New Orleans Saints at New England. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green on that one. Again, this might be, well, both teams need this win. New Orleans, because they have had some issues with quarterback play. Derek, it's been a very interesting situation. Both teams have had quarterback issues, and so Derek Carr, who is starting for New Orleans, has had some issues that I don't think they expected him to have, and he got banged up. He got beat last week by Tampa Bay, and now New England playing, because they are trying to find out if Mac Jones is their quarterback. And if you're asking me, the answer to that question is pretty short, no. But we'll see how that plays out. New Orleans at New England, CBS. Tennessee at Indianapolis, Spiriditas at Marshalletta on that one, on the call. So those are the early games on CBS. Let's go to the early games on Fox. New York Giants at Miami, Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma. Jonathan, of course, the former University of Miami linebacker. Kenny Albert, friend of the family here. There's not much to say about this game, except for if you want to see some offense, this is your game. Tua and his mates are, that's a 4x100 relay team down there. And the Giants have just played horrible. So, it looks like, maybe, just maybe, Miami, even though there's going to be a lot of Giants fans in South Florida watching that game on, in person and on TV. But our man Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma have the game, and we'll see how that all plays out. Carolina, Detroit. Ugh. Detroit's playing very well. Carolina's not. They're the only team in the league that hasn't won a game. So they may just get out of Detroit again without winning a game at all. Detroit's played very well. Carolina, not so much. Chris Myers, Daryl Johnston on the call. Houston and Atlanta. That's Brandon Gooden and Mark Schlereth. And surprisingly, Houston's played well. They're showing that they can really do some work. CJ Stroud's done well there. And we'll see how they do. Atlanta, of course, has been very schizophrenic. They've been up, they've been down, they've been inconsistent. So we'll see if Houston can go in there and take one, away from Atlanta. It's certainly possible. Let's go to the late games. These are the late games on um, the late games uh, I'm sorry, for CBS. There we go. All right, Philadelphia at the Rams. That's Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson. That's a Fox game, I should say. Cincinnati at Arizona. That's Kevin Kugler and Mark Sanchez. Okay, so those are your late games from that standpoint. Um, one more list of late games. CBS. It's Kansas City at Minnesota. That's the Taylor Swift game. If she shows up at Minnesota, that should be a very entertaining game. Kansas City, Minnesota. Then also New York Jets, Denver, Andrew Cardellone, Tiki Barber, Matt Ryan on that game. That's a friends and family game. I don't think that the Jets at Denver. Denver's not. They haven't been able to stop anybody at this point this year. So, who knows? This might be a tough week for the Jets, or it might be the first, the first in a good, hopefully for Denver, a good line of games. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, so that's your Sunday late games on Fox. Here's the Sunday special games, we like to call them. 9:30 a.m. On the NFL Network is Jacksonville against Buffalo in London. That should be a fun game. Jacksonville won last week in London. They've actually stayed there, so they are very acclimated to playing this game. It's going to be played in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. You can catch it on the NFL Network. Our buddy Rich Eisen and Kurt Warner on the call. Then, of course, Sunday night is Dallas at San Francisco. That's a classic game. Of two rivals back in the day when both of them were competing pretty much on a yearly basis for Super Bowl opportunities. So a rekindling. Both Dallas's and San Francisco are very good football teams this year, so should be a lot of fun to watch, and is certainly worthy of a Sunday night national broadcast. So that's going to be the case for there. All right, so. We've gone through the baseball, which, as I said before, begins on on Saturday. FS1 and TBS / True TV / Max, if you want to stream it. Okay. We've gone through the college football games. We've gone through the NFL. There is other stuff going on, and too numerous to mention, but let's hit some highlights real quick. The Premier League. We'll have a full slate of action this Saturday and Sunday on Peacock. Check that out. There will be a full slate of MLS games on Apple TV and the MLS Season Pass. Be sure to check those games out. There's going to be NASCAR this weekend on USA and NBC. Saturday and Sunday, the Xfinity Series on Saturday, the Cup Series on the Cup Series is going to be there on Sunday. Sorry, I got a little distracted. That's my fault. Anyway, so those are things you should be looking out for. Plenty of entertaining action from the sports world. If you have any questions or any comments or anything like that, feel free to drop them in the comments section below. We will be more than happy to answer, as we always do. And we have taken a number of questions this past week, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So by all means, do us a favor, subscribe, hit the bell, and like us. We're very likable people, and we've got a lot going on. So if you can't find the game that if I listed some games there, but you have interest in other games, my suggestion is go to 506 Sports. They have all the information on the announcing crews, the times of the games, where to watch them, and they do that for the NFL. They do that for Major League Baseball. They do that for college sports. So by all means, check out 506 Sports. They have just a list. That's what they provide. Just a list of the games and where the networks that they are on. And I put it in the box to the left there, the chat box. You can just click on it, and you'll get there and be able to find a game that you're interested in and where exactly it's being played this week on television. Okay, all right, gang. Look, remember that you can get the podcast version of this show by going to Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as Apple, iTunes, as well as TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. Okay. So thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you on Monday. Okay. Take care, everyone. Be well. Have a good and safe weekend.